Hey there, let's start with one-dimensional array. Let's quickly get started with one-dimensional arrays in C++. So in this video, what we'll do is we'll discuss about the syntax of creating one-dimensional array. Then we'll also see how we can store the data into that one-dimensional array that we are creating. So basically, the first thing, which is creating the one-dimensional array, is called as declaration of the array. And the second thing, which is putting the data into one dimensional array, is called as initialization of the array. So we are going to see how to declare an array, and then we will see how to initialize an array, how to put data into the array. Okay, so before that, before starting with the syntax, before starting with the code, let's understand one small thing on the whiteboard. See, whenever we have homogeneous data, we have said that we can store it in an array. So for example, this is our data, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. Okay, let's say this is our data. Now just tell me, just quickly tell me, what is the type of this data? 10 is of integer type, even 20 is of integer type, 30 is of integer type, 40 is also of integer type, 50 is also of integer type, and 60 is also of integer type. So all the values are of integer type. That's why we can say that this is an homogeneous data. Okay, we can say that this is an homogeneous data. That means we can store this data into an array. Now this is how array look like. This is how one dimensional array looks like. Okay, let's imagine you have egg tray. Okay, usually this is how the egg tray looks like. Okay, I'm very bad at drawing, but this is how the egg tray looks like, and these are the places where you can put the eggs. Okay, this array is very similar to your egg tray. Okay, this is how the array looks like. This is how the one dimensional array looks like. Okay, and these are the places where you can put your data. So in this case, what is our data? See, 10, so I'll put 10 over here, then I'll put 20 over here, then I'll put 30 over here, then I'll put 40 over here, then I'll put 50 over here, and then I'll put 60 over here. So this is how the array will look like whenever I'll put data into it. Okay, it's very similar to putting X into the egg tray. Here egg tray is basically our array and egg is basically our values. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this. I hope you are clear with this part. So now let's jump on to the VS Code and let's understand the syntax of an array, and then we'll come back to this whiteboard if we need any help of it. Okay, so let me jump on to the VS Code. See, the syntax of creating an array or declaring an array looks something like this. We have to write data type. I'll tell you what is this data type, and then you have to write name of the array, and then in bracket you have to write size of the array. In square bracket you need to write size of the array. Okay, so let's start with the data type. What is this data type? So as we know, we are going to put some data into an array. It is going to be of homogeneous type. So each and every element or each and every value that you are going to put inside that array is going to have same data type. So whatever data type that your element have or your values have is this data type. Okay, so whenever you want to create an array, you can create the array of different data types based on what is the data type of your data or your values. So in this case, in the example that I showed you in the whiteboard, the data type of the elements was integer, so I'll write int over here. Okay, because that was the data type of my values. Then you need to write name of the array. So let's give some name. Let's say int arr, like integer array. That's why I'm writing it as int arr. And then this is very important. See, whenever you are creating an array, you need to tell to C++ how many elements or how many maximum elements you want to store in it. Okay, because whenever you are creating an array, as it happens with variables, the C++ compiler needs to allocate memory for you because arrays are going to store the data. That's why they need some memory, right? Now in order to allocate the memory, the compiler needs to know how many elements you want to store in that array, because if you don't tell the compiler about how many elements you want to store in the array, then the compiler will be very frustrated about how much memory it should allocate for your array and it cannot guess, right? It is not a smart machine. That's the reason you need to give size for an array. Okay, so let's say in this case I want to store 6 elements in the array. Okay, so you need to give the size, and as I said, this is the maximum size. It's not necessary that you need to store all the elements. You are giving 6 as a size, you will get storage for 6 elements, 6 values. But let's say initially you just want to store 2 elements. That is absolutely fine. You can keep 4 slots vacant. That is absolutely fine. So it's like you have an egg tray with 6 eggs capacity and you just have 2 eggs. So you keep 2 eggs and you keep 4 places vacant. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. Okay. So this is how you're going to declare an array. It's very simple syntax. Let's say you want to store some character values, so you can create array of character type and then let's name it as char arr. Let's say it has capacity as 10, then you can write it like this. Let's say you want to store some float elements, then you can create a float array and you can store, let's say 20. If you want to store 20 elements, you can create array of size 20. So in this way you can create array for literally any valid C++ data type. See, obviously you cannot create an array for void data type. This is not legal in C++. Like you cannot write void arr or something like this. This is illegal. Okay. See, we already know this. We cannot create variable of void data type, right? So we cannot also create array of void data type. This is illegal, but whatever valid data types we have, we can create their array. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the syntax of declaring an array or syntax of creating an array. Now I have one very interesting question for you. Just tell me how much bytes of memory this array will get in the RAM or in your primary memory. How many bytes will be allocated for this array by the C++ compiler? Just try to think on it. See, we already know for integer variable, we get 4 byte of memory. Okay, for one integer variable, we get 4 byte of memory. Now in this case, what we are telling to the compiler, we have integer array. That means we are going to store values of integer type. Okay, and each integer value is going to take 4 byte of size, and in this way we have 6 values. Okay, so we need storage for 6 values, so 4 bytes, and in this way we have 6 different values. So 4 into 6, I'll say, so it is nothing but 24 bytes. Okay, so this array int arr is going to take 24 bytes of storage. Okay, now let's calculate how much space will be consumed by this char arr in the memory. See, one character is going to take 1 byte and the size of the array is 10 in this case. So 1 into 10 is 10 bytes. So this is going to be 10 bytes. Now how much this one is going to take? See, float takes 4 byte and then we have size as 20. So 20 different values of 4 byte size. So the total size needed for this array is 80 bytes. Alright, so I hope you are clear with this calculation. So in order to calculate size of the array in byte, you need to write size of the data type in byte, and you can multiply it by size of the array. So using this formula, you will get size in bytes, which is getting consumed or which is getting allocated for your array. So I hope you are clear with this formula. I hope you are clear with how to declare an array in the memory. Now what happens when you declare an array in the memory? So whenever you declare an array in the memory, let me go back to the whiteboard. Whenever you declare an array in C++, what happens is a blank space is created for you. Okay, so this is how your array will look like. Okay, you will get a blank array. Okay, and as we already know, whenever we say it is going to be blank, it is not actually blank. It is going to have some random values. Okay, so some random values everywhere. So we are going to get an array. It is going to be created, memory is going to be allocated for that array, but it is going to contain some random garbage values. Okay, so this is what going to happen whenever you declare an array. Okay, now let's understand how to put data into this array. Let's say if I want to put this kind of data into the array so that these random values will get overwritten by these values which I actually want to store into the array, how I can do that? Let's understand that. So for that, let me switch back to the VS Code. See, in order to initialize an array, this is the syntax to initialize an array, or this is the syntax to put data into your array. See, you just need to write this part in the declaration. See, what you need to do is you need to write list of initializers after your declaration statement. Okay, Or I'll say you just need to modify your declaration statement a little bit, and you just need to add list of initializers. So I'm going to tell you how you can write this. See, let's say this is your integer ARR. Let's say you want to put data into this array. How you can do it? You just have to write is equal to, and you just need to write opening and closing curly braces, and in this opening and closing curly braces you just need to write the values that you need to put. So 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50, and then 60. Okay, so in this way you are going to initialize the first array. Let's initialize the second array. Let's say I have created this array for 10 characters, but let's say for now I just want to store 2 characters. That is fine. So you can initialize it with only 2 characters, and you can keep other 8 slots vacant. That is absolutely fine. So in this case, what is going to happen? See, you have array of 10 elements. You have array for 10 elements, but only first 2 elements will be initialized with small a and small b, and rest of the 8 elements will still contain the random garbage values. Okay, similar to this, you can initialize the float array, like let's say 10.2f, or let's say 2.2f, and let's say 3.3f. Let's say I just want to store 3 values for now. In this way you can write the initializer list. Okay, see this part over here, this thing is called as initializer list. Okay, it is list of initializers, that's why it is called as initializer list. So in this way you can initialize your array. So whenever you write this initializer list, what is going to happen? The elements that you are writing inside this initializer list, or the values that you are writing inside this initializer list, will get storage into the array, and they are going to be allocated from left to right side. So the first value that you are writing over here will go into first position of the array. Let me go to the whiteboard and explain you. See, this is the initializer list. Let's assume that this is the initializer list. So what is going to happen? This first value is going to be stored in the first location. So here 10 will come. Let me clean this a little bit. See, 10 will come over here. Then this 20 will come over here, it will take the second position, and so on. 30 will come here, then 40 will come here, 50 will come here, and 60 will come here. So in this way the values will be stored into an array. Okay, so I hope you are clear with how to declare an array and how to initialize the array. Let me quickly do a revision of this concept. See, in order to initialize your array, you need to write the initializer list. In order to declare the array, what is the syntax for declaring the array? You need to write data type followed by name of the array, and in bracket you need to write size. Okay, what is the data type? Data type is data type of the values that you want to store in that array. Okay, now in order to initialize it, you need to pass initializer list, and this is how the initializer list looks like in C++. You need to write values in the curly braces which are separated by comma. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this part. So we'll stop here for this video, and let's continue the discussion in the next video.